Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast. And before we hop into the episode this week, I want to give a shout out to our Bodega Sync Artist of the Week. And that artist is Jake Simon. And the track today is Dream of You. Let me give you a little bit of background on Jake. Jake is originally from New Haven, Connecticut, and is classically trained on guitar. He started releasing music in 2018, so young buck here. His production style features soulful guitars, analog synthesizers, and classic drum machines to produce chilled out indie R&B tracks with elements of rap and pop. Dream of You is smooth as silk. This feel-good, laid-back R&B track takes listeners through a dreamy journey of desire, fate, and love. I love all those topics. His song Lay Low, which is not on this episode, but you can check it out if you check him out, was synced in season 5 of the hit CW series All American. So he's well on his way. Do go support him. You can find him at www.jake-simon.com. Simon is spelled S-I-M-O-N. You can find him on Instagram at Jake Simon and on TikTok at Real Jake Simon. That indicates there might be some fake Jake Simons out there already. So on TikTok at Real Jake Simon. Anyhow, we appreciate it. Again, as you know, we tease the song at the beginning and then we play the entire track at the end of each episode. Without further ado, please enjoy this investment deep dive with writer Jason McConnell and yours truly. You're listening to Make It, the indie film podcast. Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast. And here with me this week is not my co-founder and good buddy, Nicholas Buggs, but instead with me is my good friend and writer, Jason McConnell. Jason, say hello.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. You
Thanks.
that have, well, anytime. Let me just update the audience on some of this stuff and on you. You may, if you've been with us a long time, you may remember Jason from one of our more popular episodes that we've ever done. This is like pre-YouTube. This is like during the pandemic. We had this thing called the Film Investment Series where we kind of released like a little chunk of a larger episode every week, and sort of teased it out. And then at the end, we released the whole thing all together. And my co-host on that episode was the one and only Jason McConnell, who is before us right now. And because that episode, Jason, was so popular, I think it's either our first or second or third most listened to. It's it's in the top 3 according to Listen Notes. Shout out to Listen Notes. Most popular episodes. And I think it's because it had such incredible utility. You know, it was chock full of just straight up information, advice.
Yes.
A lot of podcasts today are about, and streams, let's say on Twitch, right? Like, it's all about watching someone sort of be in their element. So you're not actually doing information share, but you're kind of watching them play video games, or you're watching them rizz up a girl, or you're watching them wrestle and scream at their homies, or this is like, there's different reasons people tune in to different shows and podcasts. Sometimes it's just like watching Shane Gillis. I love Shane Gillis. Like, we have a mutual friend who loves Shane Gillis. People tune in to the Bill Burr show. You kind of look like Bill Burr. And they go there and they're not really asking Bill Burr to give them a joke a second, but they know the jokes are coming, right? They know the funny is coming. It's not necessarily like info share on how to be a comedian.
Right. They're there for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. So there are listeners to this podcast that are here to see what me and Nick are up to today, like what's going on in our world. This sort of one of a kind chemistry we have because we've known each other now for 25 years, which is crazy for me to say. but I've known you a long time too. Known you since '07, right? Like,
yeah. So is that right?
Yeah.
That's
right. In a lot of ways, you were you came in my life at a very, very meaningful time in my life. Like I think just 2 months earlier, my mom had passed. Yeah. So you were like the first
I didn't know
friend
for a long, long time.
Yeah. You were the first friend I made after my mom passed. So we have a chemistry too. And I think outside of our artistic ambitions and your writing, we had that bond as well. And so if people are wondering, why is Jason co-hosting this thing on the Make It podcast? Well, you're a writer, you're a creative, and we also have sort of a personal bond and chemistry in that. So anyway.
And he needed somebody to look like Bill Burr. So
I need somebody
it's right there.
Yeah. The AI will pick up on that and then confuse it and then, push this episode out much, much wider than it would have pushed it out ordinarily.
There we go. But which is excellent, because just to tack on to what you were saying.
Yes.
As somebody who has spent or did spend a lot of time in an endeavor artistically and doing something or trying to do something that I didn't know anything about and there wasn't a lot of information about.
Yeah.
Looking for podcasts that might have somebody on that can have that piece of advice or just I don't want to say a tip and a trick, but you know what I mean. Can point you in that direction.
It's all about tips and tricks.
I can't do the term, but that's so to be part of that, I enjoyed that from go. So I'm glad that the episode was that popular, because it felt like we were giving away gold.
Well, that's kind of I'm glad you said that
carefully, but
I'm glad you said that, because that's part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing today, because there's a whole new audience. The podcast has grown so much. Shout out to all the supporters and people who are watching this podcast on YouTube every week and listening every week. And we realize they may have missed this. They might not know it's in our catalog. To my point earlier, they might think this is all about the ride me and Nick are on creatively, as we sort of use the context of film, education, advice, and entertainment as our vehicle to share our journey, right? And miss out on the fact that we did do a very, very informative, info-laced, info-packed episode that also was from a very unique POV. I don't think, even to this day, you will find a podcast about investing in film. You'll find podcasts about how to get money from investors. You'll find all sorts of podcasts from the filmmaker's POV, the creator's POV. But to actually do one from the producer or executive producer POV, I just don't think that exists. And I think what happened is there were people that were not in that normal podcast realm that we were in that found that episode, because they don't know a damn thing about me and Nick.
Right.
They don't know anything about us. So they're just reading the title and be like, okay, let me check that out. They may not even subscribed, right? Like they were just there for that episode. So that being the spirit, I thought I'd bring you back on and we'd revisit we couldn't do the whole thing, because I think the whole thing's 2 hours.
Oh, it was big. Yeah. It took a while.
Yeah. I think I have it transcribed. I think I erroneously told producer Papa Bear, by the way, producer Papa Bear, what's up? He's on screen. He's going to help us out today. I think I erroneously told producer Papa Bear that I had 50,000 words on it. Not true. It's more like 15,000. Yeah. 15, who's counting? But still a lot, right?
There's a fifth in there.
Yeah. It's still a lot. And maybe one day it will become a book, but I just thought,
I think it should
bring Jason back on. Let's revisit some of the high points of it, some of those questions, and just kind of revisit and ask, has the industry changed? Has our perspective changed? And we can broaden the conversation as well. I think the other thing to mention to you guys as an audience, those who are listening and watching, we are also going to release this recording as a sort of a couplet, if you will. So there'll be this recording with this audio as well, and then we'll re-release the original recording, which came out on March 8th of 2022. It was episode 248. So a little bit over 2.5 years ago, and it's called Indie Film Investment from A to Z, everything you need to know before you wire funds. And, so if you want to go back and listen to the original one, you can, but we're going to re-release it, with this episode, and you'll hear it in an updated sort of format, updated audio. It sounds newer, cleaner, etc. And we'll contextualize why we're doing that as well. So without further ado, unless there's something you want to get off your chest first, Jason, about the creative world, about your world in writing, anything you've noticed, we can turn it to
well, I mean, we could spend the next 2 hours just talking about what's changed since just March of 2022.
Yeah.
It's been drastic. It's almost a different world. But what I've noticed, and just a little bit of kind of rehashing before, is that the questions and answers, the Q&A, they still stand. So
yeah,
hey, let's give it to them again.
Yeah, why not? All right, so we sort of curated some questions. Again, not exhaustive. We just couldn't do that. But I think these are some interesting ones. And actually, producer Papa Bear, you can throw some curveballs at us if you want. I gave the questions to you in a list, but you can what was that? Did he just tickle my sack? What was this? What is this?
That's my curveball.
Okay. That's a man. Now you
showing that.
I don't know if you've played baseball.
Yeah. He's never played sports.
I don't know. There you go. Was that a curveball hand?
That was a line.
Okay.
Is that? Yeah. All right. He's getting
specific. Okay. So anyway, you can ask the questions in any order you want. And, or any order, you're the producer. Produce, you know what I mean? Like you can it's your world. We're just living in it. I don't know if you know this, by the way, Jason, but producer Papa Bear is sort of an international phenomenon, with his segment, Things You Should Know.
No, I didn't know that, internationally speaking.
Yeah.
Is there a certain area of the world strongest?
He's very strong in Denmark.
Really? Okay.
Very strong in Denmark. I'm not even kidding. I'm not kidding. Producer Papa Bear in Denmark. Like no question about it. They're in Canada. Look out. Okay. Give us something, Papa.
Those Danish cookies. All right. Well, I say let's just start right with the good stuff.
Okay. It's all good.
We're already off the track, so just let it rip.
Here you go.
It's a little Willet, by the way.
If someone pitches you a crazy film, does that mean you'll have to invest in crazy filmmakers too?
I actually love that question. And that was a good question by you, Jay. Because there seems to be a symmetry between a crazy film idea and a crazy person, but there's actually not. I don't know. What do you remember about that question and answer? Do you even have an opinion on what that means?
Whether the filmmaker is crazy just because of the product that he makes?
If you invest in a crazy film idea, maybe the concern is that you're also having to invest in a crazy filmmaker.
Yeah, I wouldn't say those are lock and step there. It's not necessarily. It could be a red flag, but given the amount of crazy films that are out there,
does it feel like there's more crazy films now than we're getting a lot of I'm not saying anything bad, but Ari Aster films. We're getting Yorgo films. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness, like
the Winnie the Pooh.
The Winnie the Pooh movies. What was it called? Blood and Honey.
Oh man, yeah, I didn't.
There's a lot of films that are pushing the envelope of, I guess, our Overton window. But does that what does that mean about the filmmaker? Is it?
I don't know what has been your experience with that? Is it really tied? Is it, you got to step back? I don't know.
Yeah. So from an investment standpoint, you have to really vet it. You do. You have to vet it, because when you invest in a movie, you are married, and not for 2 years, not for 4 years. Like, you're really married for life. Like it first of all, you become a family on set. You just do.
Right.
And you have to pick your bedfellows carefully. That's just the reality of it.
Because that crazy bitch is going to take you to the bank.
Yeah. I got to be careful with the B word too. You know why? Because I just read Pimp by Iceberg Slim. I've had that on my bookshelf for 10 years and never read it. And I just finished it, and it's amazing. It's amazing. But the way that pimps talk, it's almost infectious. You almost want to start talking like a pimp a little bit.
Does that hit you in there?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I know this is a complete tangent, which is what I do best.
No. Tell us about pimp talk.
But every time a pimp talks to a female, it starts with the word bitch. Otherwise, your pimp game is soft.
You're crafting it. You're crafting a human who never feels above the level that you give them.
Exactly. So
he says, "I'm a bitch. I'm a bitch."
Yeah, I hear it. I'm like, oh yeah, let's call people bitches. So I got to be careful when I hear it, even until the magic of the book wears off a little bit. That you get away from it a little bit. And there's all these code names and words and remember, Iceberg Slim was operating in the 30s and 40s and 50s. So This is a really long time ago. This is like my 80-year-old auntie's time. And the idea of pimping in the 30s there's just something fascinating about it. Absolutely fascinating. And when you realize and the state of Black life in America in the 30s. Right. And this was a way to earn money. So yeah, shout out to Iceberg Slim, and the book Pimp. I think it's a cautionary tale. I don't want to spoil it for you, but, do go get it if you haven't read it. It's worth your time. It's horrific. There are, descriptions and scenes of levels of violence no person or people should ever experience. So fair warning, but don't clutch your pearls now. You were watching Game of Thrones, right? You were watching all this other shit that has extreme violence. You were watching the Tarantino films, right? You were watching Inglourious Bastards and Hateful Eight and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? It does
feel different.
Let's not change it because it's
when it's real. It does feel that. I mean, it hits.
I guess that part's true. Yeah. There is a element of, this is a true story. This is a biography, basically.
Right. Right. That's why I can't watch slavery movies.
Yeah.
Or Holocaust movies. No, I can't. Well, I can. I have many, but I don't anymore because I did my suffering. And
there is a slavery and Holocaust movie fatigue that you get. And so I appreciate movies. What was the one, Producer Papa Bear, that came out last year, is up for Movie of the Year, about the family that lived on the other side of the wall of the Holocaust? I
know which one you're talking about, but
why am I forgetting the name of it? It was so good.
I forget. Well, maybe.
Oh my God! Yeah, find that for us. Anyway, that's an original take on a Holocaust movie. So good. Give me that. But there is a fatigue you get on the ones that are so similar. Anyway, tangent over. Back to the question.
Back to the question. Yeah.
Let me just clarify the point. So I mentioned, hey, you're married, right? And pick your bedfellows carefully, wisely. The other side of that is you don't want a ordinary script. You don't want an ordinary project either. And so that's why the question is so powerful, because it's so rare. Jason, so rare to find a project or a script that is going to move you, that is going to be or feel somewhat original. Most people think they're doing something original, and they don't even realize how unoriginal it is. You know, back in me and Nick's consulting days, when we were consulting on film, we would do these meetings with filmmakers, and they would be like, and here's the idea, and it's just going to kill. This is what America wants. And then, you know, Nick being Nick, right? Like classically a robot, you know, like looking at the analytics, looking at like, you know, the logic of it, being not cynical, but pragmatic, right? He'll just like do like a cursory search and be like, yeah, there's 15 instances of this that I found on the net, like on the, just in my very first search. And it was kind of embarrassing because that person's on this call telling us it's an original. And what you find out is they've never even searched their own idea. And why didn't they? Do you know why?
Because they didn't want to know.
Damn, you're good, Jason.
Stop.
Damn, you're good, Jason. That's it. Exactly.
You got to know.
You don't want to know. It's the same reason why, when you go out and to your credit, you're getting like so much better at this, Jason, for a little inside baseball. When someone pushes back against some idea you have, you don't go out and try to search for the thing that validates you, that validates your idea, and purposely avoid the stuff that contradicts your point. Like you're reading all points and trying to find some place in the middle that's truth. And that's something I learned growing up, like get 10 sources. So this idea that you wouldn't even search for your film idea to see if it exists in the world is scary.
I mean, I think it says, well, I don't want to speak too boldly on this, but if that is in your nature to not do that, I mean, best of luck to you. It might not be your line. That's the first thing, you know, in my waste. Who wants to waste their time?
Yeah.
The film is a chunk of your life. I mean, depending on, especially on how long the film is. So to go with an unoriginal idea that's just going to get squashed, before it even gets out.
Well,
seems that's almost sad.
It is, but I just want to be clear that like, you're always going to be copying somebody a little bit. It's not that the sin there isn't that your idea is so unoriginal. It's that you started that conversation with, there's nothing like this. And that's the dishonest part, right? By the way, the name of that film from last year is called The Zone of Interest. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. It is shocking. I'll say that. And it's really good. And it really plays with the human element of all this, right? Of the Holocaust. And the Nazi regime in general. So anyway, I think that's the whole thing is like, okay, first of all, are you honest with yourself? And then two, you know, from the investor standpoint, hey, you can invest in a non-original thing. If it's executed great, then that's okay. But going back to the point about the question, it's like, then you get pitched a crazy movie. Right? You get pitched everything everywhere all at once. And it's like on the page, it scares you. Right? And then you're like, but I felt something. Something moved in me. This is not like the others. This is not like the other 30 scripts that were submitted to me this month. Like this one stands out. You know, please let the filmmakers be normal people though. Right.
Yeah.
But not so normal that they can't execute. You're right. Not so normal that they can't execute a big, crazy idea.
A little bit of crazy is, I like it. It works. It works. It doesn't, I don't know if it works without it, to be honest with you. So that's kind of almost.
Where's your fault line for crazy, Jason?
Fault line for crazy.
Like, is there like an Alex Jones line for crazy?
There may be. I'm going to get drunk and sweaty to repeat it. But maybe the subtle, the low talk, you know, if they have that secondary voice where they're doing something and they talk to themselves and they, downgrade themselves, but they have to do it out loud. I don't know if you've encountered that. That might be the crazy line where you go, I don't know.
Right.
There could be bodies. I don't want to do that.
There could be bodies.
But but you gotta have some, a little bit there.
And plus, you never really know crazy, do you? Like John Wayne Gacy, pretty good at being normal.
Pretty good.
So you looked in the basement. Ted Bundy.
There had to be something though, right? There had to be a little bit. People were just missing somebody along the line. I would. This is my make believe. That I would have met him, at the bank, whatever, and been like, I don't know. He smells funny, and then 10 years later, I've been like, I told you.
You did that. You said that today. You're saying that about Mr. Beast. You said you saw something in Mr. Beast's eyes, and
his smile,
and you made your kids stop listening to or watching these videos, and now this story comes out, and you're connecting it, and that's a little woo woo.
How do you not connect it?
Because you didn't see anything in his eyes.
I did too. I smelled it. Not through the screen, but
So you're saying that like you have like a sixth sense for when people are murdering people or grooming people.
You might be able to be somebody who kills, without me picking it up. But I don't believe. But if there's something innately, inherently bad in you, you pick up the bad vibes. What you're saying? Yeah. It shakes free. It has a different vibration than a normal person does, or a kind person does. So I've been wrong many times.
I mean, it's easy if you're Nicolas Cage and long legs. It's like, oh, that's a weird guy. I think I should go the other direction. It's a little harder when they look like producer Papa Bear.
Yes. No, I'm kidding. But no, I have been wrong about if somebody's good, right?
Yeah.
I've been wrong about that. But to date, I've never been wrong about somebody who's bad.
Okay.
Never.
All right. You're clairvoyant.
He's a good vibrator.
But my point is Mr. Beast hasn't been proven to be bad, and he's been good for a really long time. And the thing about being famous is at some point, somebody's going to say something bad about you. Like the longer it's like the Batman thing. Do you want to, die a hero or live long enough to become the villain?
Right. What? So a part of this, is being based on his co-host or whatever you want to call him, getting some real heat there and backed away instantly.
Yeah.
In a big way, which is a red flag. That's a
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went down real easy on that one. So that's part of it, and nothing's been connected to. All I'm saying is watching it. There's something about the manners. People have mannerisms, and I think you could be able to pick up on this with a filmmaker too. That you might. People have different ways of communicating. That if you're really paying attention,
tuned in,
more so, if you're tuned in a way that says, I want to know who this person is, which that's not how most people approach conversation. They're not interested in that. But if you're that type of person, you're going to pick up on those things. And just watching with my kids on that show, just because we're using it, not because I'm really on a full out against Mr. Beast here. And I was just like, there's something off here. I don't know what it is.
Well, the problem is in the case of this question, it would be really hard to teach an investor or a producer or someone who wanted to work with a filmmaker, how to spot that. If it's not, overtly, like it's like right in front of your face. If it's not like that, how do you teach someone to tune in to those types of mannerisms? I've heard horror stories about people, optioning films, and the filmmaker is awesome and great, and then they show up on set and their personality has completely switched. And
Yeah.
And what I've heard from that, guys, is that what happens is the stress of the film. The fact that if you're directing a movie, you have, final say on just about everything, you and the producer, basically. And you have so much weight on your shoulders that the stress actually has the power to change your personality.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when people get hungry.
The power beyond the stress, the power alone, it's going to change you.
Oh, yeah. You have a power. Yeah. You're in charge. Yeah. I see what you mean.
Right. Before you're on set, you're just a guy. It's just a guy with an idea or a girl.
Yep.
But now we're on set, and now it's mine.
Yeah.
Now you're beholden to me.
Yeah. And you can't just pull out or it costs you everything.
Right.
If you're the producer or the EP. Papa Bear, give us the next question.
All righty. You always seem wary of short-term players in film. Why? And if I want to be a long-term player, what are some of my risks?
I mean, you could argue, Jason, that this question was sort of the thesis or the through line through the entire episode, right? Like the whole.
And I think it's elevated that short-term player risk is grown.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you go back and listen to, and I hope you and the audience watching, listening do, if you go back and listen to it, you'll kind of hear that if you had to take away one piece of advice, it's really be all the way in, be 2 feet in, and be willing to take the bumps and bruises that come with being 2 feet in. I mean, you're going to get all kinds of stuff, man. You're going to meet people with egos. You're going to meet people who can't execute. Your family's going to be mad at you. Your friends are going to be mad at you. Your girlfriend's going to be mad at you. Whatever is going on, like, if you have a day job, your work is going to suffer. You might have to quit. Like it's a big thing. It's not just talk. When you're really long-term player and you're really all the way in, it's not just words. It's major actions that, if done correctly and done properly, should alter the direction of your life. It should alter the direction of your life. So that's what being a long-term player is. But without that, you can't be in a circle of trust with anybody. And so you're always getting the worst deal. You're always getting, this is from an investment standpoint, you're always getting the worst deal. You're always the last to know. All the decisions are ran past you after they've already been decided. Like, if anybody out there has been fired before, you ever notice that you're the last one to know that you're going to get fired? HR knew, your hiring manager knew, the CEO knew, the COO knew, your coworkers knew.
Bob at the vending machine, he was well aware.
You're the last person to know. You get walked into the room, or I guess now would be a Zoom call, and which is even more cold, I think.
Never been fired remotely. I will say that.
Yeah, man, with COVID and all this stuff and people not going back to the office, sometimes you have to fire somebody remotely. And the whole thing is you fire them on a Friday, right? Like, cause, you don't want to, it's easier to pay them because they worked out the week. That's the whole thing. But anyway, that means you're on the outs, man. You're not in the family. You're not in the circle of trust. You're the last to know. Right. That's when you're a short-term player in film, or an ivory tower investor in film. That's what it feels like. We're making a cast change. It already happened. Now you're being told about it. It's too late. You didn't get to have input. They don't respect your creative input when you're a short-term player. If you have advice on the writing, it doesn't matter.
If you're not committed,
who are you?
Why care?
Who are you to tell me that my writing is whatever? Like it's not a thing. And I think the other danger in short-term player is you tend not to, let's say on the creative side, you're short-term. You might be long-term committed to being a creative because, and I learned this a long time ago in the music industry, that a lot of young musicians will make an album because they want to show their mom and dad that they made an album. Here's an album. Look, my face is on it. It's got a name. I did it. They have no plan. They're not signed. There's no ambition behind it. It's interpersonal. It's like it's this thing that they needed to work on with the people in their lives. So and it's fun. And it's fun. Yeah. You get to walk outside and say, I'm a songwriter, or I'm a musician, or I'm a filmmaker. And you're
like, if you told me right now I could be 22 again and be in a band that was just going to play covers, and get drunk and, never go anywhere, sign up, man. Right. Again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Let me do it.
Well, so the whole thing is like, it might be true that you're a long-term player. You're pot committed to saying what you are. Like, I'm in a cover band. I'm a filmmaker. That's what you're actually long-term on. That's what you're actually committed to. But you might be short-term on the actual dedication, discipline, work part. Do you do the whole Priscilla-wise 5 minutes a day minimum writing every day? Wake up, same time, 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. If you're a writer, are you actively pursuing the development of your film work, things like that, like the actual actions between being long-term? Do you do those things? And so anyway, when you're short-term like that as a creative, you become a dangerous person to invest in, because what you're offering tends to be smoke and mirrors. And so, from a creative side, I'd say don't be short term, because even if you don't intend it, you end up sort of being a charlatan. And from an investing standpoint, you want to be long term and do it with people who have proven over time they can execute things. Maybe they're not financially successful, but you like their style, you like what they do, and it's all they do. Then that's a lot safer than someone who has a big idea that you might love, but they're kind of using your investment money to pay their light bill, not to make sure they can make another movie. Anyway, Papa Bear, next question, please.
All right. So the risks are many. What should a filmmaker or investor look for in a contract if you're dealing with a savvy and hardworking crook masquerading as a long-term player?
Oh boy. I've had the misfortune of working with crooks before. So yeah, this is interesting. But Jason, I don't know if you've sort of been keeping up with, sort of how many streamers there are now. Something like a gajillion. Like I think it's gajillion, right? Gajillion streamers.
I think that's the mathematical.
Yeah. So I don't know if you kept up with that, but what's happened in that, and this is kind of, not that it's changed. I mean, they were obviously streamers in 2022, and we were doing the film investment series over the year. So that was like 21 when we started doing it, believe it or not. And that was like heart of COVID. It's not that, there weren't streamers then, but there's a lot of streamers now. There's a lot of M&A activity, and each streamer has to sort of fill up their streamer with content. Like there has to be a reason why you're going there. They have to figure out how to market it, and they have to figure out what the price point is, the business model is, and then figure out what content is going to represent, their platform. How do they get you, on the site? And what that means
is almost completely different from when we last talked about it. So not completely different, but so
certainly different from when we grew up, right? Channels had to program, but they could count on viewers, meeting that programming, right? If Seinfeld came on at 8, you were going to show up at 8. Now you just watch the whole season. But what's happened because of that is basically there's been a lot of independent distributors that have cropped up over the last 15 years, 10 years. And it's becoming legal. I don't want to be crass here. It's legal to give to have a filmmaker sign a deal that is anti-filmmaker. It's not like, it's not Sharky anymore. Is what I guess is what I'm getting at is, before you'd see that some of these contracts that go out now to filmmakers, and you'd say, oh, that's a predatory contract. That's completely one-sided. And now
that's more the norm.
That's normal. That's like the normal contract. That's like the legal robbery that happens now.
Why? Now, what was the shift there? What took place where that became? I know that over the last couple of years, we as humans seemingly have gotten worse. So it's not that surprising. But
I don't believe in that. That's Jason saying, I don't believe humans are worse.
It's true.
But yeah, go ahead.
It's true. Smelled it. It's true. But
what does it smell like?
Cabbage. Anyway,
Soylent Green is made of people.
Yeah.
Editor Kate needs to pop in that video of like Charlton Heston, who, by the way, has a infamous history on this podcast, of him versus Phil Hartman doing Soylent Green, the SNL skit.
Soylent Green is made out of people. Soylent Green is made out of people!
It's
wonderful.
Perfect.
We lost a lot when we lost Phil.
Yeah, love Phil Hartman. Anyway, his Charlton Heston was freaking amazing. Amazing. Anyway, well, to answer your question, why? I think it's because of technology and software sort of eating the world. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. It's like, and I guess this is eating the world hand. I don't know why I did that, but this is what it looks like when software eats everything. So
it's very first grade kindergarten teacher-ish. I like it. Yeah.
What I think has happened is it's easier to make stuff. Like if you peruse Tubi, and shout out to Tubi, they actually pay more per view than Amazon. So
it's worth something.
Yeah, not a hater of Tubi. I'm saying though that Tubi is filled with content that you realize is not produced and executed at a professional benchmark. Just simply put. And these filmmakers are trying stuff out. And we say that all the time. How many film podcasts have you heard where they say, you know, nothing's stopping you. Just pick up your phone and start shooting. Well, I don't love that advice. I don't love it. It's kind of reminds me of the advice people say, man, just do you. No, stop doing you. If you're an asshole, stop doing you.
Right. You might suck.
Yeah. Do something else. Like if you're a bad person, stop doing you. Like no one ever went up to, Jeffrey Dahmer and said, just do you, boo.
Just do you.
You know, you like eating people. Just keep going, man. All you can do is live your truth. It's another phrase I hate. Live your truth, as if the truth is optional. Let me slide the bar over here because now it fits me.
It's individualized.
Yeah, the truth is the truth. Don't eat people.
Don't eat people.
It's simple. Okay, so anyway,
you're on the side of a mountain and they're already dead. Sorry. Go ahead.
There's always a condition. It's a good, look, Jason, it's a good question to ask. If you're up the side of a mountain, frozen with a bunch of friends, are you the first person to be eaten? Right? Like
to be eaten?
To be eaten. Like, are you a survivor? Are you the kind of person who's going to make sure that you're one of the last people eaten? Right?
Sure.
It feels like you should ask yourself that question and you learn something about yourself. Anyway, the point, of this whole thing is just that, I think I lost my thread. There. I was just about to say something before you got me on that shit.
Sorry.
Well, I have some advice. Just eat cabbage.
Just eat cabbage. Yes, that's what it was. You were saying all the people are bad people. Thank you. That's what it was. You were saying, and I was saying, no, they're not all bad people. It's not that the world's a worse place and that the people are worse. The reason why it's happened is because more people can make more stuff, and more stuff needs to have a home, but it's not worthy of a home. See, there's a weird asymmetry there, and instead of making it an honest asymmetry like it was when we grew up and when we were coming up in creative and film, basically it's like, let me stick this square into this circle. Your movie is not worthy of payment. Even though you spent $5,000 on it or 10 grand, or some of these movies have really low budgets, right? Like even though you spent 50 grand on it, or even 100 grand or 150 grand on it.
Right. Still a turd.
It's still, yeah, it's a turd. I have a producer film, friend of mine, Lars, told me most indie films are rolling a turd in glitter. But anyway, that reminded me of that. Shout out to you, Lars. So anyway,
good point.
The idea, the very idea, now I sound like Joe Biden, the idea that you would want to profit side on a movie that is objectively bad on every level, cinematography, sound, acting, everything, key art, everything. It's bad. We're not allowed to tell people, hey, you didn't do it. This isn't good enough. You didn't do it. Just go ahead and trash it. I have a short film. Me and Nick have we own a short film, right? We own a few, we have a few holdings. Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff that we actually haven't released because it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And sometimes we'll revisit and say, oh, maybe we should release it. And then we realize, oh no, it's still bad. It's still bad. A few years have gone by. It's actually
time hasn't changed how bad it is.
Right.
But now, does that mean that, are you saying that the amount of crap that's out there, has just forced, has forced the normalcy of predatory contracts because people don't want to be burnt on the crap?
No, I'm saying it's created a normalcy around a predatory contract because the content doesn't deserve a contract. And so the only place these filmmakers can go is to that contract.
Oh, okay.
They have no other avenue to try to nut on this thing, right? Like there's no way for them to try to go profit side on it because, it's not good enough. And so now you can have a contract that's predatory because you don't really deserve it. Now, the big problem, and back to the question that Papa Bear asked, and that we asked back in 2022, the big problem that comes with that is when your film really does deserve it, now it's so convoluted that maybe through lack of experience, right? You made a good film, but you haven't done this before. You haven't negotiated. You haven't seen a thing through post before. And all of a sudden that predatory contract reaches you, right? Even though your film deserves more, right? So how do you handle that? And so for me, I think now a couple of things have changed, even in just the last 2 years. I think 2 or 3 years ago, if someone were to give you a 10 or 15 year licensing deal, that would be kind of normal. I think the age of that is over. I think the idea of like licensing your movie away to someone for a decade or more has to end. Like let's get into 3 year, let's get into 5 year, because you don't have the exhibition windows anymore, right? Like where are you going to make all this money through one distributor? Also, this distributor it might not be marketing for you. They might not be branding for you. They might sell you in a slate of 50 other movies. So now your money's cut up 50 different ways. So you're diluted, right? It's similar to the stock market when a company decides to, to issue more shares or to do a stock split. It's like, well, if you bought it at that original price, you just got diluted, right? So you're basically, when you vote for that, right? Or let's say you vote against it, but you lose, then it's like, okay, you're praying that the stock will go back up to at least your original value in it after they stock split, right? So that's what they do in the film industry. They say, well, we'll take 50 films, and then sell it all once. So to me, one thing is don't be locked in for too long. Two, don't get caught up paying like big development fees or marketing or distribution fees. This idea of paying $8,000 to somebody so they can shotgun your movie out to direct to consumer sites, and sort of these sort of free sites like a Tubi or like a Sony PS5 kind of thing. Like that doesn't cost that much. Let me just tell the filmmakers right now, you can go to Bitmax directly. They will do this work for you for far less money. And if you really are trying to make your money back, you have to have a plan on how to make it through that distributor, because those places, they only pay between 6 and 13 cents a view. So you might be a lot better off four-walling your movie, like taking it theater to theater to theater. It's a lot more work. You're going to bust your ass. But that's why you want to be a long-term player in this, because then you love it and it's not really work. Anyway.
Right. If you believe in it, I mean, then it's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth it.
Yeah. A lot of times you just want to get rid of it. Later. You want to like hand over the movie. That's always bad. You know, I shared this with producer Papa Bear and the rest of my team yesterday, and I'll share it with you now. I'll just read the list. If you're not on Amazon Prime, just originals and subscription VOD only, Apple TV Plus, Discovery Plus, Disney Plus, HBO Max, which is just Max now, Hulu, Netflix, Paramount Plus, or Peacock. If you're not one of those platforms, you can't get into any guild or association. Like you're blocked out. Right? So if you're like on one of these sort of, you know, direct to consumer streaming sites, that doesn't do anything for your career. That's the problem. So, and then what comes along with that is a very, very non-filmmaker friendly contract. Next question, Papa Bear.
In the past, you've talked about the 4 whys. For those that may not have seen the previous episode, what are the 4 whys and which one do you consider the most important?
Yeah, well, the 4 whys is something we talk about at festivals when we do our panels and do our pitch workshops and stuff like that. And I'll give it to this audience for free, or at least for the cost of your time, which is the 4 whys in film investing is why you, why now, why this film, and why me. And the me is you as the investor. One of the most important ones is probably going to, for the investor, it's definitely the 4th one. It's why me? Like, why should I invest in your film? Why did you come to me? A lot of times what you'll find out is that you're a walking checkbook if you're investing. You don't want to be a walking checkbook, by the way. That's not good. It's not good almost in any way. It's nice to be known that you might have some money. That's nice. People might admire you for that in a pseudo way, or treat you different for that. But it's not. It has zero value. You know, like the thing you in the real world, the thing you want is to be wanted for you. The reason why is really simple. There's a couple reasons why, but a couple of the big reasons why is, one, if producer Papa Bear comes along and is willing to write a check that's $1 more than yours, then he's their new best friend, and you're out the door. You know, that's not what you want. That's not a good way to build a reputation. I think the second reason is because if you're just a walking checkbook, you will get no say into the creative or the decision making. And one thing you can never forget is that it's your set. You paid for it. If you want to walk in front of the camera during a shot, you can do it and nobody can say anything to it. Now, it's completely rude. People may not ever want to work with you again. That might be a reason they never take your money again. But it's important not to forget that. Like, you're paying everyone's light bill. You're paying everyone's groceries. It's your set. You paid for it. You can fire people. You can tell people to F off. You can do that. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you should remember that you don't want to be in a situation where you're perceived as a walking checkbook, because then when the movie's shot, you'll have no agency. So,
well, I think to your comment on what you can do on the set, and not doing that, understanding and holding that power inside you without necessarily employing it is, I mean, it's key. You're talking about building yourself in the community, not just not just as a producer, but as somebody that you want to work with. Work with, not be funded by.
Yeah, or work for, right? It's your set.
Or work for.
You know, then you end up working for them.
It is your set.
Yeah, and you learn a lot on set. Like if you're really a long-term player in this and you want to know what makes films work and not work, you just can't do it offset. You just can't do it from your spreadsheet or whatever. Like you're looking at the funds, maybe everything's in an escrow account. And you're looking at how the funds flow out and maybe hopefully flow back in. You can't really learn what makes the actual creative work from that POV. I think from the otherwise standpoint, like the why you, why now, why this film, that's all about trying to get the filmmaker. You're trying to understand, has the filmmaker done any homework at all? And you're trying to get down to the reason they're doing anything, right? Like a strong why you. It's like, basically what I want to know is, can anyone else make this film? Because if so, I've got a really great director. I like your idea. Maybe somebody else should direct it. You want to make sure the stuff you're making is just for you. And a lot of times a good why you is, hey, I wrote this and it's about my own life. And then that'll lead you into the why now, right? Like, oh, this is about, you know, politics, or this is about the 2020 election, or this is about, teen suicide, or, you know, whatever. So it has like the salience to it. And then, you know, the why, this film, like me, and what does that mean? That means, well, why shouldn't this be a short film? Why shouldn't this be a TV show? Why shouldn't this be a play? Right? Like justify why this needs to be a feature. That's
I imagine
the,
that
yeah.
as in producing though, that happens often. That question has to be asked, because there are a lot of things that are misframed to be one product and really need to be another.
Yeah, exactly. And you're lucky if you get to that place in the pitch, because a lot of times what happens is you send over your work. Someone like me reads it, and then our feedback is, hey, this should be a TV show. Or, hey, this really would work better as a web series or as something else. Or, hey, you don't need to make this. Yeah, I have a script in mind right now. I'm thinking of like, oh, I'm so glad they didn't make that. That would have ruined their reputations. It was bad. Yeah. Right. Like, and it was bad in like this is kind of racist way. But the worst kind, which is like when you're unintentionally racist. Like when you're blindsided by your own racism. It's like, oh no. It's quite terrible. So yeah, I guess the most important from this POV, guys, is going to be why me. And, you know, it's a cautionary tale to investors. Like you really want to make sure you're special to them in some way or another versus just being a sugar daddy. Okay. How many more questions we got, PV?
Just two more, but I'd like to dovetail in on that just for a quick moment and ask, the old dovetail, you know. Mm-hmm. Do you think the investors in Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, ask themselves, why me?
So that's that's a studio film. And
didn't see it coming.
And shout out to Rob Schneider, by the way. He was a real friend to Dick Gregory, and he's a staunch sort of, you know, libertarian, and he has some pretty decent POV, you know, politically, and is like a genuinely like nice guy, but
big supporter of Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yes. But even before that, you know, very known as like a nice guy in the industry, but because he chose to speak out, he's been a bit blackballed, and it's really unfortunate.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, you should be careful if you share the things you believe in. It's true. But with that film, that'd be like asking, did somebody ask why me on the movie Twisters that just came out over the weekend? Now, Twisters has Glenn Powell in it, and the camera has almost never seen a prettier man or a man that it likes more. I mean, it's just so good to look at Glenn. I'm not gay.
Oh.
Anyway, like Glenn Powell is he's charismatic. He works on camera, right? And I went and saw it in the Dolby Atmos. Jason, holy!
Is that 4D? Is that?
Well, it's not that. It's that your seat rumbles. The sound comes through your seat and all around you.
Yeah, that's the fourth D.
In the fourth D, there you go.
That's the fourth D.
That's the fourth D. 4D. You're right. So it's amazing. The tornadoes in that environment. Oh man, it rocks your soul. The movie.
The reports that I got were that it was amazing. It was by two women, so I was like, I don't know. Was it amazing or was it Glenn Powell?
It was Glenn Powell and the tornadoes. But let me tell you something. The story doesn't make any sense. Right?
Yeah.
The story's not good. Okay. The first Twister is much better. Much better. So to your question, producer Papa Bear, it's like the why me on that is I want to make a ton of fucking money. I've got Glenn Powell from Maverick fame, Top Gun Maverick in this movie. I've got, what's her name? Daisy Edgar Jones or something like that. She's so beautiful. Yeah. Like you got her in the movie. Like, let's go. Like this is a franchise, right? The movie already existed and did well. Like, so to me, the why me is, hey, I'm the guy who wants to make a lot of money off a studio film. And I have a little bit of expertise in funding blockbuster movies. So I think the short answer is yes, the question is asked. The context is different based on the type of film, right? In the sense of Deuce Bigalow, you're talking about Adam Sandler's crew, and you wouldn't want that would be the best EP for that kind of movie because they understand what kind of budget and how you should be positioning a comedy like that. And that's why it was successful. Those executive producers knew what to do. And this kind of speaks, let me just say this kind of speaks to your job as an EP when you're not Ivory Tower, right? Like, what do you do when it's your movie and they're over budget? Right? Your producer and your EP are like the custodians. They're the adults in the room. They're the custodians. I don't mean that dismissively, but they're the adults in the room. They're the custodians for the money. They have a fiduciary responsibility to either to the studio or to themselves, depending on if it's indie or studio. So it's like, do you know why I went over budget? And is it an acceptable reason? Well, you're not going to know that if you haven't done an Adam Sandler comedy before. You're not going to know that if you haven't done a big summer blockbuster before. So this is the why me.
Well, it took the gross just for them to break even. The gross in the U.S. and Canada.
Which one?
It wasn't until
Twisters or Deuce Bigelow?
Deuce Bigelow.
Okay.
Deuce Bigelow. It wasn't until you started getting into the gross for the worldwide release that they started making any profit at all.
That's almost any movie.
I never did see it.
It's the only film I ever walked out on.
You walked on Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
I watched it.
The European Gigolo.
Oh, European Gigolo. That's right. It's the sequel to the first one.
There were two. That's right.
Yeah. It was a sequel. I saw both. You're right. The second one was significantly worse. But the only movie I've ever walked out on was Freddie Got Fingered with Tom Green. Jason, do you have a movie you've ever walked out on theater-wise?
Yeah, but I can't tell you what it was. I don't think it was as bad. I think it was just younger. It was a Kevin Spacey movie where they swapped wives and then one of them gets killed.
What?
You don't remember that one? It was like a they decided to back each other's wives. Movie. I don't know.
You're talking about American Beauty?
Oh,
I was going to say it can't be that. That's not a walkout on. That's one of the great movies of all time.
It's before that.
Okay.
I was a teenager. It was a long time ago.
I'm doing a Kevin Spacey sort of film category to revisit. Swimming with Sharks, Glengarry Glen Ross, American Beauty, all the classics.
Now that some of that weight came off, some of that.
Well, here's what's interesting.
Did it all come out? I don't know how much came off.
Look, there's a documentary on Max about Kevin Spacey. It's a pretty interesting watch, especially if you were a fan of his. And one of the things that came out after its release is the sort of the drastic gap and difference between a normative sort of heterosexual a relationship and lifestyle versus what's normal inside of the gay community. And within the gay community, and this is not me saying this is like the gay community speaking on behalf of Kevin Spacey or
right. As you said, you're not gay.
No, I'm not. They're basically saying, oh, honey, like this is nothing. Like this is this is like every day in our, so the things that might shock a straight man when he's with Kevin Spacey would not have shocked a gay man with Kevin Spacey. And it would have actually felt quite normal. And how do we as a society grapple with that? That's what came out of the documentary for me. So, but that's for another podcast. Okay. Papa Bear.
I tell you what, why don't we wind up with this one?
Okay. Let's wind up.
You've emphasized the importance of investing in people over projects and personal brand over pitches.
Ooh.
How would you expound on that statement?
So, Jason, I don't know. I mean, has this changed since our last talk? And I would say it's not that it's changed, but it's become even more true. Right? Like, we just mentioned Glenn Powell. Like, people are going to go watch that movie because he's in it. And this is sort of a return back to the traditional star system. And maybe that started really last year with Barbieheimer and Maverick. And, because I think we had gotten away from that. I think there was a space where a film could come out and have a YouTube star in it and do really well.
I think we're still there a little bit.
There was a space where a TikTok star could be in a movie and it would do just as well as a movie with Tom Cruise in it. And I don't know if that's true anymore. I think the general public has figured out, oh, wait, first of all, the fame of this TikToker is a lie, meaning they were funded by TikTok, promoted by the algorithm, are essentially employed by TikTok, lived in the TikTok house. This person that's on Instagram is really, really pretty, but we all know about the filters and the apps now. And we're just more aware of how false and how much of a facade is put up, the million edits that took to make this video funny, or this creator is actually only good within the space of a 2-minute span. But if you expand them out over a movie, it's not so great. I think that's kind of happening and has happened. I agree with you, Jason. It's not over, but what I think the general public in the last 2 generations are figuring out now is that, acting is really hard. Filmmaking is really hard. Like, when you're great at it, you are uniquely different and better than a social media influencer. Right. And so you're seeing that with like Glenn Powell being on the movies. You're seeing that with Timothée Chalamet. You're seeing that with the Zendaya movies, where they are literally dragging the audience to the theater and supporting theaters. Another thing you're seeing now too, that's supporting this thesis, is that movies are starting to be at least 2 hours long. And even the action movies that were used to be for a while, like, 85 minutes or 90 minutes, they're now being stretched out to maybe 100 minutes, 110 minutes. And the reason why is because theaters have had to change their format. A theater really doesn't very few theaters now will sit 200-300 people now. They're all big couch seats that recline. The idea is to keep you in the theater longer so you get hungry. And then you order from their in-dining services, that you buy that one extra cocktail, that one extra bag of popcorn. You go ahead and get those cheese sticks you said you weren't going to get. And then they make a lot more money over the aggregate by making and buying and distributing slightly longer films that are star driven, because you're not sitting in that seat for a 2.5 hour epic featuring, the latest Instagram star, but you will sit there for Denzel and Paul Mescal or whatever his name is. Who I love, I don't know why I'm flubbing his name, but like, you'll do that and then you'll buy more food. So I think we're kind of seeing that. So right now it's the same as 2 years ago, in my opinion, Jason, but even more so, where before you say no to that investment, really try to analyze what me and Nick call the founder filmmaker. Is the founder filmmaker the type of individual that is going to make this movie with or without you? And not only that, are they the type of person who cares about the little details? Filmmaking is about little details. And it's about caring about little details, because the little details being correct make the film rich in the aggregate. Is this the type of person who cares to make another movie? If so, they're going to care about, and this is the kind of team that cares about the movie, like the producers, the line producer. Are they trying to make another movie so that they inherently must want to be profitable? Is their reputation, are they on death ground to make the movie profitable? Or are they just going to be okay? They're okay however it does, and that sounds silly, but I would tell the audience, you will be shocked how many filmmakers are like, we're just doing this. We're just doing this thing. Like they're very sort of laissez-faire and casual about how they're going to use your money or what their aspirations for the film is.
That's fairly common then?
More common than is acceptable. It's kind of a shock. And then I think on the other part, Jay and PB, about of course you want a good pitch, right? Like you want the pitch to be great, but if the pitch is really great and then you go and talk to people, which you always should do, about who that filmmaker is, and all you get back is negative reports, does the pitch even matter?
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like how could you as an individual overcome someone else's, like several people saying one thing about you, right? If you were a kid in high school and the girl you were interested in, 10 people came up to you and said, "Hey, she's got herpes." You would just find another girl to be interested in. You wouldn't really take the time to suss out whether that was all a lie. Even if it were a lie, I'm saying you could be lied on like that. And that's kind of our society right now, by the way. That's what cancel culture is. It's like a bunch of people saying, "Yeah, he did that." And then you saying, "No, I didn't." Or that person saying, "No, I didn't." And you, the consumer being of that information, saying, "Maybe you didn't, but I'm not going to with you anyway." Too many people said you did. You know what I mean? Or if you're an employer, "Yeah, you probably didn't do it, but I'm not going to hire you anyway. There's too many people that want jobs."
It's not worth herpes.
So, right. So to me, it's so sad to some degree, but when it's really true, it's valuable as an investor to know that the person you're about to marry and be in bed with is a good person generally, and has a good reputation with people that he's worked with in the past or that she's worked with in the past. That's what I mean. So you really want to make sure, no matter how good or bad the pitch is, because it works in the converse too. Okay, you pitched really bad, but the story is really cool and interesting, and you have this great reputation, right? And on top of that, you're the type of person who's going to run through a brick wall for me. You're useful to me, right? Hollywood is the movie industry is very, very transactional. Let me say that again. It might be the most important thing we said on this conversation. The movie business is very, very transactional, meaning
absolutely.
If we're all going to be family, let's say the three of us, we're going to be family and we're going to make a movie together, but we just met each other a month ago. I need to know that if I ask you to do something for me, Jay, you're going to go do it. You're going to execute on it, even if you have to bleed. And then when you come to me to do it, right, I'm going to do the same. Well, how does that work? It works with me asking you and you saying, you know what? This is you understanding that's transactional business. You come to me and say, you know what? I'll do it for you. But there's going to come a time where I need something from you. I need you to do it. And if I agree to that, then you go. Right? It's
the Godfather paradigm.
Yeah, that's the way it really actually is. It's not, Jason, you go do this for me and then I'll see you later. No. That breaks the rules. That breaks the law. Right? You can't do that. That's not how it works. So you find somebody that will run through a wall for you. Well, shit, man, maybe you should write him a check. You know what I mean? So like you figure out something for him to do for you, you know? So, anyway, that's a thought. Anyway, this was an absolute blast. Papa Bear, thank you so much for being our custodian, being our guide through this journey back into the revisiting of the film investment series. I hope everybody enjoys the republishing of the episode. It's like we mentioned at the top of the conversation, it's chock full of, I think, really actionable items. And then I hope everybody really enjoyed this and that we brought something new to the table. And Jason, thank you for joining me.
It's been good to revisit it. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we got to do this more often. It's fun to have you on.
I'm in anytime.
Yeah. If you just want to just hop on and tell gay jokes, you can do that, whatever you want to do.
We can talk about chicken farming.
You just want to call me names and talk about chicken farming and you being a prepper, we can do that.
Yeah.
I think it's our first time to bring cabbage into an episode. So
it is. We mentioned cabbage and Soylent Green in one episode.
Yeah. And that wrapped up.
And wait, I don't think this audience knows anything about why you brought up chickens just now. And just look, if you happen to notice that Jason has a little bit of irritation on one of his arms,
I've been hiding my ring in my hands and trying to
It's
chased a chicken, got the poison.
He chased a chicken that was, I guess, doused in poison ivy. And that chicken, the chicken doused in poison ivy got all over him. And it's all because, Jason's a prepper.
It's not all the chicken's fault. I'm not a
No, it's your fault. I'm saying it's your fault. Like you are a prepper.
It's Jason's fault.
So you've bought a bunch of chickens. You've put a coop. You're a chicken farmer in the city. Okay. It's like, I want to be clear. You don't live on a farm.
I don't live on a farm, third of an acre. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's chickens.
You probably have a rooster to keep them safe and keep all the,
You're not supposed to have a rooster.
Chickens in line.
City limits, Chris.
So you probably torture your neighbors, right? Is that fair?
If somebody did have a rooster that they,
okay,
said person might, but again, that's against.
When you said that you had chickens and it gave you poison ivy, the first thing producer Papa Bear said was, you can just go to KFC. So his immediate thought was that you just wanted to eat the chickens.
I'm not eating the chickens.
But these chickens have names.
They do. They all, these are part of the family, man.
Bob the chicken. Well, I've met one of his chickens. One of them's name is 22 Herbs and Spices. Isn't that the name of one of your chickens that you have? You just call them 22 Herbs?
There will be no eating of the holidays. So yeah, no, that's
okay. Well, I wish you best of luck. I just want you to stay safe.
Thank you.
Friend to friend.
Well, I appreciate that.
Stay
and
safe out there.
Since I'm going to be the prepper, if it ever needs to be, you've got a homestay here.
Is that when we eat them? Like when the world ends?
I guess. But you get a long time on the eggs.
Eggs. So it's eggs. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I'll just let you know, Jason, I once had as many as 26 chickens.
Is that right?
But it wasn't in the city. It was not in the city.
It was in a bucket.
Well.
Well, that's a barrel.
And it had a lid. And it came in a sack. This is so much fun. Well, I've enjoyed this. Jason, can you tell people who want more of you, desire to deep dive into you, where they can find you, contact you, ask you questions, anything.
Sure. More of me. Yeah. I am on social media, the platforms, McConnell211. I'm sure that spelling will, hit the site here.
Mm-hmm.
But
MCC.
MCCONNELL.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Can they email you? Is there any other way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. Let's just keep going with that. McConnell211 at gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. More stuff coming from me. So I'll be returning just on my own project. So
yeah. Keep your ear to the ground with everything that Jason's doing. And if he did give you his email address, so feel free to email him poison ivy remedies and different creams and things and links to Amazon. And
chicken raising advice, yeah.
And of course, if you're here listening or watching, you probably know where to find the podcast or know where to watch it. But just so you know, you can always find us wherever wonderful podcasts are played. And of course, here on YouTube, you can watch it. It's so much fun to watch as well. I've heard that from somewhere. It's fun to watch. You can find us on social media at _MakeItPodcast. You can find us there on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Appreciate all the support on those sites. Nick's not here, but if you want to reach out to him, you can do that on Instagram at they call him Mr. Bugs. No, they call me Mr. Bugs. I always get that wrong. They call me Mr. Bugs on Instagram. And then you can email him at nick@bonsai.film. And he will take emails about why he isn't here. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on X at Flame in Your Heart. Your is spelled UR, so Flame in UR Heart. Or you can just search for Chris Barkley and I will come right up on Twitter/X. And if you want to reach out to us, you can do that at contact@bonsai.film. We answer 100% of these questions that you send in. We're also on Reddit at _ Make It Podcast and at Bonsai Creative. So you can reach out to us that way and ask us questions. And you can DM us on any of our social sites and ask us questions. We have a shop and we have a newsletter. Please go to bonsai.film. So that's www.bonsai.film, F-I-L-M, not .com. And first thing you'll find is a place to get some of our really cool gear. The shop is open. I'm super excited about it. Really awesome hats. We added 8 new cities for our city set cap that's been popular. So you can pick those up at our shop at bonsai.film/shop. And you could subscribe to our bi-weekly newsletter, Indie Insights, at bonsai.film/subscribe. It's completely free, comes out every 2 weeks, and it is fantastic. You can always unsubscribe. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Like I said, completely free. We don't sell your information, don't do any of that stuff. And it's a passion project. Producer Papa Bear, me, Nick, the whole team, we pour our hearts into this thing. So please do go subscribe at bonsai.film/subscribe. And last but not least, Nick has authored an ebook. It is called Movie Money, and it is 42 ways to finance your feature film. It's completely free outside of the cost of your email address. No big whoop. And again, we don't do anything with that email. We don't sell it to anybody. Don't do anything nefarious. We don't spam you. And you will get that ebook for free in your inbox as soon as you do that. And you can find that right at the front of our site. So if you just go to bonsai.film or the makeitpodcast.com, it'll come right up. But if you want to go directly there, it's bonsai.film/movie money. And you can download your free ebook now. And since Nick is not here, I, believe it or not, will be saying the credo. So without further ado, to our fans, friends, and family out there, thank you for your support. We appreciate you so much. And without further ado, be better, be creative, be engaged. Papa Bear, Jason, talk to you soon.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Yep. Be good. Peace.
All right.
See you, boys.
Peace.
I've come to feel that I need you, babe. It's not the rush, no, it's not the chase. This could be love, this could be fate. Do you feel the same? This is not a game. When I dream things out. You're in my head. There's no getting you out. I just need to know. Do you feel the same? This is not a game. When our dream is true, it's always with you. With you. It's always with you. It's always with you. It's always with you. With you. It's always